Namaste. PhD in anthropology and photography, and multimedia artist, ethnologist, and a social worker, Martino Nicoletti, a multilingual person who can speak Latin, French, English, Nepali, Hindi, Greek, and some other languages, is here with me today, and I'm happy to be sitting next to him and introducing him to the viewers today. He has been to Nepal several times, and this is in 2024 in October. Also, he visited Nepal, and I took this opportunity to meet him, request him to make time for me for a short casual conversation. And it's matter of privilege, honor, and happiness for me to be sitting next to him. Literally, my knee is touching his knee, and what could be more honorable than this in the world for me? Dr. Martino Nicoletti, you are welcome in this short informal talk with me.
Namaste, Birbal. Thank you very much for inviting me.
So, in additional information is there with for Dr. Martino Nicoletti. He has also written volumes of books on Kulung rhythm, about Kulung ethnic group in Kulung area of Nepal, and he is credited respectfully for the work he has writing work and the documentation of Kulung culture and rhythm in Nepal. And I have got few questions which I have prepared some questions in written form. Now I would like to ask these questions to Dr. Martino Nicoletti. Dr. Nicoletti, what was your first impression when you visited Kulung, Mahakulung, Gudel village for the first time? Back then, you were so young, handsome, and you know, and good-looking, charming boy from Italy. And what was the kind of impression that you had?
At the time, it was long ago, I was looking for a proper place to carry out my research on anthropology about Rai culture. So at that time, I remember I was wandering the east of Nepal for about 1 month, looking for a village where I could settle. And at that time, my interest was in shamanism of those areas. So one day I came across to Gudel. So I was coming from Tumlintar, so from the south of Nepal, and I was going toward north part of Nepal, and the east of Nepal. And at that time, I remember the first time I saw Gudel, I told myself, this is the right place. And at that time, I'm talking about something like 30 years ago, was simply wonderful. And the first impression I had was confirmed once I met some people, and especially when I could meet the grandfather of Birbal Kulung, or Sancha Prasad Rai, and who was the first person with whom I was in contact. And I knew that he was a shaman. I knew that he was a very well-known Nagiri in the village. So it means he was the responsible of all the rituals related to ancestors of the tribe. And in those cases, Nagiri means related to the word is related to Nagi, so the serpent, so the snake gods. So since the first meeting I had with Sancha Prasad Rai, really we had a very, very good relationship. And thanks to him, I could have a glance, probably more than a glance, to this very, very deep culture. So the first impression was just wonderful, because the place was wonderful, people were wonderful. So everything was fine. That's why I decided at that time not to move anymore and to keep on working on this culture, so among Kulungas.
Mm-hmm. And thank you, Martino. The first encounter that you had with Sancha Prasad Rai, who was my grandfather, was a very historic moment for you and for all of us. And uh, after you met him, and you, along with Sancha Prasad, did a research on Kulung culture and rhythm, and you documented Kulung rhythm and Kulung Nagi and other things, word for word from him. And Kulung ethnic community in Gudel is full of gratitude to you beyond words. And we would like to uh, immensely thank you for documenting our culture. Now we have our culture uh, written in written form, which we can call uh, our our property, or it's your property basically. But we also have this privilege to benefit from it. Thank you, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Martino. And from your point of view, Martino, Dr. Nicoletti, uh, I think there, a lot of time has passed since you first met Sancha Prasad Rai and other Kulunge people in Gudel. A lot of time has passed. So in this passage of time, I, if we look at Kulung village and Kulung people from your eyes, what changes can we see?
Huge, many changes. So the first time I was in Gudel, there was not any electricity.
Mhm.
There's not phone. Was a very isolated community. Just to get to the village of Gudet at that time, it took several days by walk to get to the place. And really, it was very isolated, not only from the geographical point of view, but also from the very cultural point of view. In this sense, really, the culture was very, I'd say, preserved. That's why I decided to stay in Gudel, because in comparison with some other places where the culture, I use probably is not the proper term, but just to be understood, was a little bit spoiled. So it means there were many connection with Western culture, with Baun Chetri culture, so Hindu culture. No, it was not the case in Gudel. So was uh, remind me something which was very related to the very past of this world. That's why at the very beginning, apart my interest in the shamanism and the mythology of Kulung, my main topic was about the rituals related to the hunting practice. So something very old, because probably many of you know that in Kulunge community, and not only in Kulunge culture, there is this practice where you use the practice of hunting to worship some special spirits of the forest. So there is a very close relationship between the world of the forest, the world of the spirits of the forest, and at the same time, people. So thanks to this worship of the spirits of the forest, and usually the worshiping was performed during hunting, you could keep this direct link with the world of the forest and the spirits of the forest. So it was something very old. The roots of the kinds of rituals are probably related to Paleolithic time. So it means there is something that Kulunga have been able to keep on for not only for centuries, but probably for centuries. So a long tradition. If you go back to Goodell, nowadays is not anymore the same situation, because you have a lot of facilities. Now there's also a road connecting Kathmandu
Mhm.
directly to Goodell, and the most closest villages to Goodell, like Bung. So there are many changes. Western world has started to enter into social life, into culture, and also into mind of those local people. So many changes. I cannot say is good, is bad. It's very subjective. I'm not the person. I'm not the one who can say is good or not good. For me, it's not good just because innovation is good when you remember who you are. Mm? When you can remember your roots and you keep the contact with your tradition. Is not bad. Is bad, 100% bad when innovation means I forget what I am, what I was. So in this sense, once you go back to Google nowadays and you ask people, what do you know about rituals? What do you know about Nagi? What do you know about rhythm? It means your myths. Most of the people, especially young generation, they don't know anything. What is the risk of that? When you lose your roots, when you lose your root, you become a slave of someone else. When you don't remember anymore who you are, it means that someone else can tell you who you are really. Mm? So this is the risk, and this is the changes I've
Mm.
seen.
Well, it's so sad, because someone, someone telling you who you are because you don't know who you are.
Anymore.
Because anymore, and like you say, innovation is good, but if it causes you to forget who you are and where you belong to, and you sort of lose the connection, which is so sad and pathetic. I would say thank you for this insightful perspective you shared, Martino, Dr. Nicoletti. So now, as Kulung people are modernizing, you can see they are very happily Americanizing themselves, and including me myself. I cannot be an exception. And when I say Kulung people are modernizing and westernizing and forgetting their roots, or the channel or the conduit that they have with their origin or their purkas is declining or becoming weaker, that statement also includes me, and I don't feel happy, and I'm not proud of it. So what is the what is your take? What is your perspective on Kulung people modernizing rapidly, but then probably becoming indifferent to their responsibilities that they have for towards their culture and tradition? What do you think about it, sir?
I can answer very, very simple words. Probably we need no more than one sentence. And in what sense? In the sense that once you lose your roots, you are forced to follow what someone else say is the best for you. So in this way, you are not free anymore. On my opinion, on the contrary, when you keep the relationship with your roots, you are free to make decisions. So when you talk about is a civilization which is very modernized, is it true? Is it true? And the problem is, I give you the example of yourself. You say I'm not probably too much related and linked to my own roots. However, your daughter, the name of your daughter is Diriti.
Yeah.
Diriti means in your language means ocean, sea, Pokari, so it means also lake. And according to Kulung Mundo, is the big ocean existing at the beginning of the universe, right? At the very, very beginning, Samudra Matityo, Pokari Matityo. It means there was only water. And from this water, everything came out. Everything existing around us, every form, any form of living beings, animals, plants, humans. And from the first man, who was Minangali, then we have slowly Kulung tribe. So it means that spontaneously you have a relationship with this past. and spontaneously, even if I'm not that aware, even if you say I'm not related to this culture anymore that much, however, it is still living in you. Otherwise, you could not think, I want to give to my daughter as a name Diritti. So for sure, this kind of link is still existing in you. I think it's still alive. You have just to refresh. And it's that important because when you lose your memory, when you lose your tradition, when you lose the memory of rhythm, you lose the contact with the region. You are not anyone anymore. So that's why I was saying just a few minutes ago, you became a slave. Anyone else can tell you who you are because you don't remember anymore what is the link you have with your origins.
I respect the opinion that you shared with me, Dr. Nicoletti, regarding Kulung people uh, so happily westernizing themselves while forgetting their roots and their true identity. The true identity or root, the base, the foundation, the very foundation that they're sort of disconnecting from. Uh, and thank you, Martino, for the insightful vision that which you gave me on how important it is for me to stay connected to my roots, no matter how far I go away from my origin or the place where I was born and the place where I can find rhythm and other rituals, which makes me what I am. So, Martino, and you have uh, you have immense knowledge, and I feel sort of intimidated by the immensity of knowledge you have on Kulung culture and rhythm, and you have written volumes of books about it and made even documentaries. So I think it was not an easy task. Uh, your your from your personal experience, how difficult or easy has it been to do the research, writing, and filming those things?
In one sense, I'd say it was very easy because of your grandfather, who was very generous in giving me any kind of information I wanted to get about your own history, tradition, religion, mythology, and so on. So we had at the time when I was living in Gudel, we had, I'd say, daily meetings to talk about rituals, to write down the translation of rituals word by word from Kulung ritual language to Nepali, from Nepali into Italian or English. So on one sense was very easy, and your grandfather was not the only person with whom I've been working at the time, but however was really the main pillar. And thanks to him, really, I could get the most of the information about Kulung tradition. Then the process of writing is a completely different thing because being an anthropologist, you have to keep a sort of a scientific point of view. So you need to analyze, you have to re-elaborate many things. So the process of reading and of writing has been completely different. Also because there was one more difficulty, I'd say, also because my approach was not only that one of a traditional anthropologist, but also a visual anthropologist. So all the time I combine the traditional way of getting information with the fact of taking pictures and shooting images. So any of my work, there is always a combination between words and images, and is really a combination. It's not only the fact that I added some pictures to make beautiful the book. No, both of them are important. Or sometimes you have images, you have text, but you also have a documentary, so shoot images. So it has been a long process. One thing that can be important, at a certain point, when I finished my first PhD in anthropology about Kulung rituals and religions, I felt that the scientific way of displaying information was not enough, because all what I experienced was that deep, that bright, that beautiful, that I could not put all these kind of feelings and information related also to my own experience into a book. That's why, from a certain point, I decided to stop to write books as an anthropologist, and I had to look for a different kind of language to express the richness of what I've experienced. That's why shortly I shifted from the field of anthropology to the field of art and creative writing and art in general, where I felt to be, had the feeling really that I was much more free than before to express the beauty of all what I have been witnessed. So changed a little bit my way. I'm
Yeah.
always the same person, it's always the same approach, but there is an evolution because something inside me changed time by time.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you realized it. It was not writing alone was not enough, and you started shooting videos and taking pictures.
Writing
And
poems about
yeah,
Kulung,
writing poems,
why
and
not?
yeah, and yeah. Excuse me for being a little casual. And by the way, Dr. Nicoletti is also my English poetry guru, who has taught me. and
Bichara.
we might need a different sitting for talking about that. But today, I'd like to get to the point without beating around the bush. So, I my another question for you, Martino, is I think the Kulunge people, especially the young generation, Gen Z or what you call, deviating from the origin, and it sounds cliche to say to repeat the same thing again. They're modernizing, and they are not they are reluctant to speak their language. They feel humiliated and small when have to when they are in a situation in which they are obligated to speak in their mother tongue, and they feel humiliated, and to hide that they pretend to like have forgotten their mother tongue and start speaking Nepali or English or any other languages, which is a pity in itself, and we have to do something about it, I think. And I hope some young Kulung guys are aware of this fact, that we are also the ones who have to preserve their culture, right, in the days to come. And in this, on the same note, what advice would you like to give to Kulung diasporas that we have in Kathmandu, the Kulung diasporas that are maybe all over Nepal and even outside the country, Nepal? Uh, because we are also facing the unavoidable challenge of this impulse, this irresistible impulse to become westernized, which is much easier than holding on to the culture that is maybe old or archaic, and traditional. So, what advice would you like to share with the Kulung diasporas, you know,
Okay,
around the world?
okay. I don't have any special advice. Now I will explain you why. But before answer, I'd like to say something which is important. When you said at the beginning of this conversation, you said, I I got a lot from your writings, your knowledge, your research, and so on. Okay, me too. I learned a lot from
Thank you.
your culture, from you, for your grandfather, and thanks to the research I've done, I've carried out in Gudel, really my own deep personality has changed a lot. I'm not the same person I was before. And what I've learned is that making research is not just to make a career. Yeah, I have not any career in anthropology. It's private at the moment. I was a professor at the university. I gave up, okay, because I decided to be free. And what I've learned that making research is a sort of service. So it means is a service to your community, is a service, I use a big word, a service to humanity, to preserve the memory of what we are or what we were is important. As a sort of service, in my case, is a sort of obligation. I feel I have to do that, okay? So when you ask me, what is your advice? I don't have any advice, I'm sorry. Because it's so personal, the choice according to which one decide to follow the mainstream of Western culture or to keep the relationship with his, her own tradition is very personal. So nobody can say do that or do that, okay?
Yeah.
What I can say, there is really pity. When I see Kulung people forgetting their own wonderful language, just to talk in English language, and when they don't like anymore to show anyone else, someone else, that they are able to speak also Kulung, to me it's just pity. You try to become as Westerners, but you will never be as us. Okay, this is clear. So anytime here in Kathmandu it happens, especially this time, so it's something very recent, when I see young generation, young people, Nepali people, talking each other in English instead of Nepali, because they try to jeopardize to follow Western culture. To me, it's just pity, because it's not your language, it's not your culture. So better to keep your own roots. I'm not saying that just because I'm a Westerner. I'm saying that just because what you are experiencing now is exactly what we experienced as Italians more or less 70 years ago, when, after the end of the Second War, World War, Americans came to Italy, and we wanted to be like Americans. So we start to dress like Americans did. And very, very quickly, we have lost our roots. So now we are not anymore Italians, and we cannot be as Americans are. So better to keep what you are, which is much better than to try to be someone else, which is not you, but is only the person who is colonizing you. And this is the case. Now it's a global situation, so be careful, think about that. Can be probably this act of questioning our oneself can be probably the best advice I can give to you.
Thank you, Martino. It's important to uh, not forget and rooted to the culture and the origin, and which you have highlighted, and it's really wise point of view that you are sharing. And sorry, I want to be a little bit. I want to use the political term that, that maybe it's not only political, maybe social something. I don't know, where these words actually belong to. There are terms like capitalism and consumerism. I think these words are not relevant here to mention. Do you think the Kulung people being westernized and sort of like putting higher value on money than uh, and desire, let's say, than over necessities, do you think this capitalism or consumerism have anything to do with Kulung people, and not only Kulung
Absolutely.
people, but the people all around the world, uh, who have a seemingly greater tendency to run after monetary
Sure.
values than the the practicalities of life.
Yeah, absolutely, Birbal. I agree with you. There is a close relationship between culture changes and economy and financial framework, for sure. Uh, what we are experiencing nowadays is a sort of a very new form of capitalism, is worldly widespread, use more or less the same strategies in any single corner of the world. Uh, the idea is to promote, okay, the idea that you will have a very bright future by just following certain rules delivered by capitalism. But what I can say, because I was doing the comparison between our Italian culture when get into contact with American culture. Okay, we thought at that time they could be much more happy than before, which is not the case. Which is not the case. So yeah, for sure, they are saying you will be happy, you will have everything. But I can very frankly say that if you come to Italy, you cannot imagine how many people, rich people, are depressed, how many problems we have, what how sad is the life of younger generations in Italy. I say in Italy just to say Europe or Western countries in general. So don't think that it's just a mirror, very glossy and bright mirror to make you follow it. But behind that mirror, there is nothing. There is nothing. So better, much better to keep on your own style life, even if it's art, because believe me, once you get into this kind of machine, the only thing you can do is running, 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 running. When you run, when you try to ask yourself why I'm doing that, there is not any answer anymore. So what you do, you keep on running, 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 running. No money, no happiness, no peace inside.
Mhm. Wow, it's like really eye-opening logic that you have put forward.
But
It's
just
like
because I
a
come from
treadmill.
that world, I come from the same world
Yeah.
where which for you is the main goal.
Hmm.
So I can say we are not happy at all.
The
We work all the time to have a life that is not really the life I experienced in Goodall 30 years ago. Yes, it was cold, there was not electricity, it was very hard. All the time you were eating quodo, so millet. Okay, it's very hard. When we were sick, you risked to die like that. But there was another quality of life.
uh Wow, what an insightful and eye-opening uh, statement that you have shared with me, Martino, Dr. Nicoletti. Uh, so this is now the I think your time for leaving Nepal. So when are you visiting Nepal next time in the future, if you have any plans to visit Nepal?
Um, I think I will be back in Nepal in a few months. And I hope also to pay visit again to Goodell. And probably if you, Birbal, will be free, we can go together. Why not?
I really look forward to that, time when we can go to Goodell together, pay visit to Goodell and the people and Burkhas, and maybe delve into the Kulung culture and tradition. Yeah, Martino, I have last question remaining. In regards to the preservation of Kulung culture or Kuluridum, is there any message that you would want to leave to the younger generation, the young blood of Kulung community who aspire to, maybe preserve their culture and sort of, save it for future generation,
Sure.
and not disconnect the connection that they have with their purkhas or roots. Is there any message if you would like to kindly leave to them?
Yeah, first of all, as you already pointed out, is important really try to keep your own language. Kulung language is that important because Kulung language is closely related to Kulung culture. Kulung culture is closely related to Kulung rhythm mythology. Kulung rhythm is closely related to the relationship that you as human beings have with the landscape, the nature around you. So it means to keep the language. At the same time, when you keep language, you keep alive many, many different links with the world inside and around you. So language is important. I think that rhythm is important. Rhythm is your memory. Rhythm is so beautiful. I mean, I don't know, thanks to your grandfather, I could really write down in many details. The rhythm is so beautiful because you see that you have a very close and direct relationship with the primeval world. uh, Before Minangali, uh, before the first human being, before a cockchilip, okay, the first, let's say, Kulung ancestor, there were some other beings. And those beings, all of them, they were divine beings. So, like Ninamriddum, like Brihaspati, and some others. So, according to Riddum, when you uh, have a look at Riddum, you see that there is not any difference. I mean, the more you go toward your origin, the more you see that your origins are divine. And that's beautiful. It's rare, very rare. It doesn't exist anymore. So keep all of that like something very, very precious. Is really important, I think.
Okay, thank you, Martino. With this, we have come to the ending end of the talk. Martino, thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule. You have made time, which is a treasure for me, and it's going to be a heritage for me in my life. And I hope it's going to be something to cherish and treasure for my daughter, Diriti, as well. And it will be handed down to generations. Thank you, Martino, for
Thank you
this
very much.
historic
Birbal.
get together I
All on
have
one.
had with you. All on the way.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All on the way.